Sahisnu, tolerance, or tolerant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stated in this regard, Krishna Shabha Bhakti Naloy Aparad Alpo Sheva Bahumane Atta Prajanto Prasad. That Krishna does not accept the offenses of a devotee. But even a little service he considers to be very great, and in reciprocation gives mercy to the devotee. How much mercy? Up to the extent of giving himself to the devotee. Sweet. Name 149 is Vijayah, which means victory. And name 150 is Jeta, which means victorious, conqueror. So these names are very similar. He's the conqueror and he is conquering also, or he is victory in person. When you see Krishna, you know he is victory. Sakshat manmata. He is directly the one who churns the mind of one who churns the mind, the Cupid of Cupid. So Krishna is directly his all that is desirable, and even that's undesirable. Everything is Krishna. Even that which is undesirable in Krishna becomes desirable, as I was discussing yesterday. His anger, his greed, his lust, all these things. So, Krishna is victory, he is beauty, he is fame, he is all these qualities. And he is victorious. This name is similar to Ajita. That name has already been given, which means it's very similar. It's practically the same thing. You can say, in many cases you can make a statement in two ways, positively and negatively. Just like the famous statement, Smartavya satatang Vishnu, Vismartavya najatu chit. One should always remember Vishnu and never forget it. One should always remember Krishna, and apart from that, one should never forget it. So it comes out to be the same thing. So Ajita means unconquered. That's a name of Vishnu already given here. And Jeta means conquer. So from different angle, the same thing. In Bhagavad Gita, the statement is there. Sanjaya, the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, Yatra Yogeshvara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanardharaha Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Sanjaya gives his opinion, which is authoritative, that wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, or the master of mysticism, and where there is Arjuna, the archer, then certainly there will be opulence, Vijaya, victory. Tatra Shri Vijaya Bhuti Dhruva. There will be morality. All these things will be there because Krishna is victory. Now, the previous name in Vishnu Sahasranama is Anagha, sinless. So Krishna conquers. He had so many fights. He's always fighting God. He's never defeated. He's always victorious. But there's no sin in Krishna's being victorious. There's no perfidy. There's nothing wrong. It's all right. There's that English word, all right. But the only person who's all right is Krishna. And those who are devotees of Krishna. And those who are not devotees of Krishna, they're all wrong. Because Krishna is always victorious. How is he victorious? By sinful means? No. He's always victorious by, we may say, well, sometimes it appears that he's victorious by duplicitous means. But there's no question of any sin. Yudhishthira Maharaj, after being victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra, thought that by the very fight, by the very fact that he'd killed so many people, what to speak of the tactics sometimes adopted, he had become sinful. But there's no sin because he was doing it on behalf of Krishna. If one thinks that, or if one does anything on one's own behalf, then that is sinful. If one does everything for Krishna, that is not sinful. So Krishna, he is Vijayah, Ajeta, unconquered. It is intrinsically impossible to overcome Krishna because he is more powerful than all the other living beings put together. It's not possible to overcome Krishna, and he ensures victory of those who take shelter of him. If we have Krishna protecting us, then he's always victorious, then no one can conquer over us. Rake Krishna Mareke. If Krishna is protecting us, then who can kill us? And Mare Krishna Rakeke. If Krishna wants to kill us, then who can protect us? So he ensures the victory of those who are sheltered. Victory for the jiva is over the mind and the senses and over birth and death. That is victory. Yogis, they try very hard to conquer over birth and death, but it's very difficult for them because they don't take shelter of Krishna. They try to do so by their own strength, but Maya is stronger than them, so it's very difficult. But those who take shelter of Krishna, they can very easily cross over Maya by His grace, because He's always victorious. So it makes sense to take shelter of the winner, right? Not the loser. Of course, some people like the underdog. There's that idea of the underdog. Fight back. Stand up for your rights, and all this kind of thing. But generally we find that people, they like to support a winner, just like in a mundane sense. At least when I was a kid, in English, this will all be lost on you, but what I'm going to say now, because it's an example from mundane sports. But I'm sure you have the same thing in baseball and all this kind of thing in America. That, at least when I was a kid, the famous football teams in England, no one knows anything about baseball in England. It's soccer. Football means soccer. So the famous football teams were both from the north of England, Lancashire, Manchester United and Liverpool. But they would have fans all over the country because they would win most of the competitions. So why should someone you can understand if you support your local team, but why should you be a supporter of a team from another part of the country? Because they're winning. They're the ones that win. So everyone wants to support a winner. You watch the game because you want your team to win, but then you should watch the team that wins all the time if you want to be with a winner. So I guess that's the same in America. Anyway, I won't bother asking you about who's the successful baseball team or whatever. So Krishna is the winner. Krishna is always the winner. And if we take shelter of Krishna, we'll never be the loser. One of the reasons that we are discussing Vishnu Sahasranama is to convince ourselves of why we should take shelter of Krishna. To glorify Krishna, but also by hearing of His glories, we become more and more convinced that we should surrender to Him. So that's the best reason, isn't it? So we can be victorious in the struggle of this material existence. We're always successful. As Srila Prabhupada quotes, we're always successful if we take shelter of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada quotes, I'm not sure where it's from, but he quotes in his Bhagavad Gita commentary that Jayastu Panduputranam Yesham Pakshe Janadanaha, that the Pandavas are certainly always victorious because Krishna is on their side. Srila Prabhupada commented in one place that if Krishna is on your side, then the whole world may be against you, but still you will be victorious. Now, it may seem sometimes that the non-devotees are winning and the devotees are the losers. Must have seemed like that to the Pandavas for a long time. Duryodhana had the upper hand. Prahlad, he was tortured by Hiranyakashipu. So it seems as if this is a commonly asked question. Why do non-devotees, they seem to be very powerful? When Srila Prabhupada was asked this, he said, with one kick of Krishna, they'll all be finished. So they appear to be successful. But that is an illusory success. It doesn't last. Just like America, this country, sometime shortly after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was a Newsweek article about American hegemony over the world. It used to be the competition between America and the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union collapsed. So there's only America left. So America is all dominant. But now it's not like that. They can't even, for all their trillions of dollars, and they can't conquer some tribes people in Afghanistan. No one can actually. No one in history has been able to. But it's inevitable. If it wasn't now, it would have been sometime later. It's inevitable that the American dominance will go down, because that's the way the world works. In Iraq, which was blessed with American presence for some time, that used to be a great empire, the Babylonian Empire in Iraq. Now it's the fortunate recipient of American bombs. So now they're the losers. The winners of today are the losers of tomorrow, and the losers of today can be the winners of tomorrow. But Krishna is always the winner. Krishna is always victorious. So it may be for some time. We shouldn't be bewildered and think that, well, the non-devotees are actually doing better. That's only for some time. Then they'll be finished. And even if they do seem to be very prominent, but the great prominent person who appears to be victorious in the struggle in the world, they're on top. They're the big business leaders, the big military leaders. They become worms in stew. Whereas devotees, they may be struggling apparently in this world, but they go to Krishna. So who's ultimately the winner? The devotee, because he takes shelter of Krishna. So the jiva's constitutional position is to be conquered by Krishna. And if one rebels against, if one doesn't want to play Krishna's game, his leela, if one doesn't want to participate in it, then one comes to the material world and one is conquered by Maya. And Krishna, he rules over the material world also. How does he do that? Lilayatena bhuvanani jayatyajasram. What's that verse? Ananda chinmaya rasatmataya manasuyah praninam pratiphalam smaratam upetya lilayatena bhuvanani jayatyajasram govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Krishna always conquers over this world. How? By his leela, by his pastimes. One leela is his creating and maintaining and destroying the world. And by his glorious pastimes, he conquers over. And that is, those pastimes are reflected in the hearts of the devotees. Those pastimes which are Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, spiritual tasty bliss, or blissful spiritual juice. So that is reflected in the mind of the devotees, how Krishna by his pastimes, simply by his pastimes, simply by coming to this world and enacting his pastimes, he conquers over, he shows his immense superiority over everything that this world has got to offer. What has this world got to offer? Yan maithunadi grihamedhi sukham hitucham. The insignificant pleasures, of which the greatest is sexual pleasure. But if we offer simply a leaf, a flower, fruit or water to Krishna, the pleasure of doing so is far more than all the material happiness of all the living beings in all time put together. Just one time offering Krishna, leaf, flower, fruit or water. So Krishna conquers. He is, moreover, victorious Hridaya Raj. He's the king of the heart. He conquers over the heart of the devotees. He is conquered by love. There's a very nice story of Prahlad Maharaj, who he's king, Maharaj, when he's grown up, Hiranyakashipu was dead, so he was out and in his kingdom, and he was challenged by an unknown person. And there was a tremendous fight which went on and on and on, and eventually Prahlad was defeated, which he wasn't expecting because he thought, Krishna's always helping me, but he saw that the person who had defeated him revealed himself to be Narayana himself. So Prahlad offered obeisance and said, but there's, now as a king, I've been defeated, so now what can I do? If the king is defeated, he's no longer fit to be a king. But Narayan said, no, I'm always defeated by you. So the devotee defeats Krishna by love. In the material world also, Srila Prabhupada gave that example, that Julius Caesar his name is famous even today for conquering so many lands. But he was conquered by the flickering of the eyelash of Cleopatra. So that is the mundane reflection. The perverse, mundane reflection of how Krishna is conquered by the love of his devotees. Even though he's so powerful and rules over all the material worlds and spiritual worlds, his heart is captured in Vrindavan by the love of his devotees. He's not Vrindavanam parityaja. What is that verse? Vrindavanam parityaja padam na ekam gacchati. Something like that. Prabhupada quoted it like that. Vrindavanam parityaja sakvachit naiva gacchati. Krishna never takes a step out of Vrindavan. Why is that? He's captured. He's conquered by the devotees. So, even though he is the conqueror, he is also conquered. He is always victorious. Nothing can ever happen against his wish. All the great demigods, they have to act according to his will. He has never any failure or defeat. Not that anyone is, when we say he's the conqueror, we should understand there's no one really fit to oppose him. In Islamic and Christian mythology, they have the idea of Satan, who's very powerful and God's really sitting up on the clouds wondering what to do. But God just manages to keep him under control. Although in this world it doesn't look like it. It looks like Satan's well in charge and God's lost. So there's this mythology of Satan. But this is atheism actually. It's because to think that there can be anyone who can actually challenge Krishna. Think that there's anyone who's actually a competitor of him. It means they don't know actually who is God. They have no real understanding of the term. So, no one is fit to oppose him. But sometimes he empowers a jiva or an associate to be very powerful, and himself appears to be less powerful, so that he can enjoy the pleasure of fighting. Otherwise, no one is fit to oppose him. He's always conquers. So, Hare Krishna. Any question about this? Alright then. Hare Krishna. Let us be conquered by Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.